Hi, everybody. Okay, before I start, buckle in. It's going to be a long one. All right, because I have a lot of thoughts here and a lot to get through. Okay, now, first thing I'm going to talk about is the fashion and the decorations because we are a week away from Christmas, so they are following suit. Okay, first time we see Michelle Stafford, she's in a great red dress. Okay, and then the decor in the coffee shop is all Christmas. It says Merry Christmas, snowflakes all around. Really cool. Okay, now getting into the storyline. I say there are two storylines because there's the aftermath of what Victor did. And then there's another storyline with Phyllis kind of it's attached to it, but kind of adjacent. It feels adjacent. So, and then, um, you know, so here we go. All right. First of all, we open with Peter Bergman, Jack, making a statement on the website about how the company Jabot is going to be down for internal restructuring, but don't worry because we'll be right back. And we value our customers, yada yada yada. And at the end, he says to himself, "Oh well, that was a long on promises, short on details, but it should buy us some time to plan our next move against Victor." Okay, so he's finishing that up. He finishes, and then Adam and Chelsea walk in and say, "Oh, Merry Christmas," and he's like, "How dare you? You're the reason why I'm having to deal with all this stuff about my company, and you know full well why I'm doing it. And yet you put out a story to basically tell people that we don't know what we're doing, the company might be going under, that kind of stuff." And then he went off on Adam. Oh boy, his "how dare you, you should know better, and just because you work for your father doesn't give you the right, you know right from wrong, and you shouldn't have done it." And then he also kind of throws Chelsea under the bus, but then Adam sticks up for Chelsea. But yeah, because okay, now I just talked about the content of what they said. Here's the deeper meaning of it. Because Jack and Adam are friends, although their friendship is probably in jeopardy at this point. But they were friends, and he made a promise to him years ago that no matter what his father made him do, Adam, this is Adam to Jack. He says, "No matter what my father makes me do, I promise that I will not ever go against you. We have a friendship here, don't worry about it." And it seemed like a solid promise. So I'm like, okay, cool. So the fact that Jack is putting it back in his face and saying, "You said this and now you're going completely opposite of that." Yeah, he needed to hear that. He really did. And they both did because Adam and Chelsea both had choices. They could have made other choices. Okay? They could have either not printed the story at all, totally changed the way they did the story, and or like Jack said at this point, printed a retraction and said this is not true. They could have done several things, but they chose not to do any of them because they work under Victor, and so they feel a loyalty to him, but they feel no loyalty to Jack at all. And then also another part I didn't think about until Jack mentioned it, or Peter Bergman said, you not only affected me, you affected the people that work for us, and now they can't afford anything. They're going to be out of a job, and they can't enjoy the holiday because they're stressed out about not having work. So yeah. Okay. But I guess if you guys don't have Paramount Plus or whatever, you have to watch. Like, I don't know how you guys watch it, but like, you have to watch that scene again because it's killer. Peter Bergman should win a Daytime Emmy for that. It was that good. Okay, now on the other side, we have Diane talking to Kyle about their strategy of what they're gonna do. And so Kyle mentioned that he had seen Claire, but he didn't want to put Claire into it because their relationship or whatever it is on shaky ground as it is. So then he didn't want her to feel like he was using her to get what he wanted out of her. And so um, Diane says, well, you wouldn't have been doing it, but you would have been doing it for a good purpose. But I see why you didn't do it. So that was okay. But also, there's a little bit of thing that I didn't see coming. Apparently, part of their plan is to get Phyllis on board with them, which would totally contradict what she's trying to do because she made a deal with Victor about she would do what her part and then he would give her a job. But somebody else said it, but I was thinking about it as I said it that Victor never comes back on his promises. Like he never honors them. Look at the situation with Audra. He promised her to help with Bronte, and that never came to fruition. So, so apparently, the conversation between Jack and Billy was to give Phyllis any amount of money she wanted so that she would be on board with them. But I don't know. I don't think Phyllis is gonna take because okay, now the reason I'm thinking about this is because I'm thinking about Phyllis in the past versus now. Okay, now when she started, her whole motivation was money and power and everything. Okay, and also I think thrown in there was she wanted people's respect, but then she also did some shady stuff to get that. Okay, so I think she's not going to take the deal because I think there's some sense of loyalty in her, but more than that, she wants respect from people, and she's not always all about the money. I don't think that. I think she's grown in that way. Her character has grown and kind of matured and said that like it's not all about money. But I don't know. The reason I say I don't know is because every time I think I have Phyllis figured out, she flips. Or they made the character flip, so who knows? Okay, and then I have to talk about the scene between there was a scene between Michael Grazade, Daniel, and Phyllis. So mother and son, right? Okay, now mother says I don't think you should get involved with Tessa because, she's still married to Mariah and she might be confused. And if you keep going down this path, you're going to get hurt. And he says, well, I don't think so. And, I know I kissed her, but it was spontaneous and whatever. Okay. So he's not taking her advice, right? Clearly, he's not going to take her advice because if he does, then the whole Tessa Daniel coupling or whatever goes to kaboom. Okay, you don't want that. Okay, so that's not going to happen. Okay, storyline number two involved with them is that let's see. Well, Daniel has a good sense of what's going on with his mother, intuition or whatever. And I know that they say it's usually female maternal intuition, but he has it because the last scene we saw with him about her was he had an uneasy feeling and he was like talking to himself. But you know how they did, like, it looks like he's talking to himself, but he's talking to us. And he said, what are you hiding? And why don't I feel good about it? So he already had the intuition. And then he asked her point blank, like, what's going on? Is there anything going on? And she said, there's nothing. I'm not hiding anything. And I'm like, yeah, you are. So she's right on the money with her. Only thing is, okay, now I go back into my bag of like history and knowledge for what I'm going to say now. When Daniel says, you better watch yourself and you're going to end up like, well, Billy said it. You're going to end up jobless, friendless, and something else less. And she says, oh, no, no, no. Okay. Daniel says, you better watch out. It's going to implode. And I'm like, yeah, he's right on the money. Because how many times has Phyllis said, I had an idea for something or whatever, and the scheme blows up in her face and she's left with nothing? I've seen it enough times. I can't even count that high. So yeah, Phyllis, like get out now. Okay? Get out. Do something on your own merit and where you don't owe anybody anything. I'm telling you, because it's gonna blow. All right. Bye everybody.